Well, of course, there's no doubt that the internet is killing snail mail as a form of communication and a business model, with the once all-powerful postal monopolies around the world all in serious trouble. Everywhere it seems, but here. In the face of the online challenge, Australia Post this week announced its profit has jumped by a striking 170% to more than $240 million, its first increase in 4 years. And it's done it by embracing the internet as a business opportunity while upholding its community service obligation to deliver letters to 98% of Australian addresses 5 days a week. I spoke to Australia Post's chief postie, Ahmed Fahour, about how the business is being reinvented. Well, Ahmed Fahour, anyone reading your results this week, I don't think they'd be surprised at all, seeing parcels growing, mail declining. It's kind of been obvious for quite a while that that was what's going to happen. But other postal services around the world seem to have been caught out. I'm just interested to know what you've done differently here, because you have actually turned it around.
Well, Alan, I think there's no question that Australia Post, like the Australian economy, definitely has a two-speed business. We have our traditional mail business, which has been in steady decline now for a number of years. But we've been very fortunate here at Australia Post that we've been beneficiaries of the online boom, and that has really helped the business quite substantially.
Are you changing the culture of Australia Post to take advantage of that in a way that perhaps other mail services around the world are not doing?
I would say we at Australia Post have recognised this opportunity for a number of years, and what we've been really doing is accelerating the resources and the allocation of people and talent to take advantage of the online boom that exists. I think around the world, some postal operators have done that, but quite frankly, there are some global multinationals that are really successful, being DHL, FedEx, UPS, and this is their bread and butter. And what we're really doing is saying we need to compete with these people because they're in a business category that makes sense for us.
Yeah, that's right. So the mail business lost $90 million or so in the past 12 months. The parcel business more than obviously made up for that, and you ended up increasing profit. How do you handle the cost transfer? Because obviously the posties are delivering the parcels as well. I guess I'm interested in know how are you organising the cost allocation between mail and parcels?
Look, some of the posties do some of the parcels, but the great majority are done in a separate delivery unit, and so therefore the cost allocation is really not that big a big issue. The real issue for us is how do we, on the one hand, manage a declining volume of our traditional mail business, and how do we continue to deliver the excellent service that we do? Because at the same time, while we lost $90 million, it is still a very important part of what we do, because we have a community service obligation that requires us to meet service standards of 96% service standards of delivery of letters, which we do very successfully, and also to go to 10.8 million homes across the nation. So I think the real challenge for us is to continue to meet the very high service standards that we have in a mail business that's in decline, while at the same time deploy and grow and take advantage of the online shopping boom.
So what's the future hold? I mean, are you doomed to continue to lose that sort of money from the mail service while sort of making up for it, subsidising in a sense that with the postal delivery?
I think there's no question whatsoever society has voted with its feet about how it would increasingly prefer to communicate with each other all over the world. The internet is here to stay. I like to use this statistic that says it took us 200 years to get to 5 billion postal items in Australia per annum, which is roughly what we have right now. The telephone with texting is maybe 15 years old, and there are 30 billion texts per annum in Australia. The internet with email is only 10, 15 years old as well, and there are 400 billion emails. And then we have these social network sites with Twitter and Facebook, and it is into the trillions, the number of postings. So there's no question around the world and here in Australia, we love communication, but the old-fashioned form of communication is mail, letters that we are involved with, and that's definitely declining. And for us, that is real, and it's staying, and it's going to continue on for a while. But What we're trying to do is to say, well, that's the way Australians are. How do we then turn the thing that's causing us our problem, the internet, to turning it into a source of advantage? And that's where online shopping comes in. And I think our brand, this wonderful brand we have at Australia Post and our distribution network, really lends itself well.
Now, the US Postal Service has got rid of 110,000 workers over 4 years. They've said recently that they need to cut costs by another $20 billion per annum, and they're desperately trying to change their legislation to try to turn it around. They've got the legislation, just like yours, and the community service obligation is quite onerous on them in terms of what they have to do. So are you going to have to try to change your legislation? Is that a part of the future of Australia Post, to get your obligations removed?
Yeah, I really feel for my counterparts. They lost over $8 billion this year, and nearly roughly the same number last year as well. And the UK is seeing the same problems. It is a very, very difficult business to be in when you're in a traditional mail business. I think we're different here in Australia. What I don't think they've taken advantage of that we have here, that we've been building on for years and years, way before my time, which was to build an adjacent business that made sense, and the parcel business made sense. And in some ways, if you look at what's happening around the world, that parcel growth opportunity that existed, some post offices have seen that as an opportunity and taken advantage of it. The ones you mentioned have not, and that's why you've seen the growth of DHL and TNT, FedEx and UPS. We've got them all here in Australia competing with us. We've actually seized the opportunity.
At some point, the mail business, where all the postmen are employed, cycling, going around the streets in their motorbikes, delivering letters, becomes unviable. I mean, at the moment you have an obligation to employ all those posties and have all those post boxes on street corners, but at some point you've got to presumably say, actually, we don't want to subsidise them with parcel business anymore. We shouldn't do it.
There's no question that there will be a role, but the size is getting smaller. What my job is to say, how do I take the resources, the people, the talent, the capital, and the know-how that is brilliant inside my mail business, because we at Australia Post have built that up over 200 years. Not me, the whole team has built it over 200 years. And they've built a wonderful service machine. How do I take that talent, know-how and capability and deploy it into the growth area?
The problem is that the infrastructure required to be able to send mail all over the place to every house is a certain level, right? You have to, if you're going to offer that service to some people of delivering a letter anywhere in Australia, you've got to have a certain level of, and the question is whether that infrastructure at a certain point becomes unviable.
And that's the same infrastructure that's giving me my competitive advantage to do parcels. You see, if you want to be able to do online shopping, you can be in Broome, you can be in Bathurst, you can be in Wagga, you can be in Shepparton, and you're a small online retailer. Say I'm a business and I want to sell something online. I don't have the distribution or the retail shop fronts. I'm just going to go on the internet and I want to sell. Your customer can be anywhere. Who can deliver to 10.8 million households every working day of the year? Australia Post.
So
and that's that infrastructure that I'm excited about.
Thanks for joining us, Ahmed Fahour.
It's absolutely a pleasure to be here.